Chapter 9 is entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge. So we can read the verse. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat chantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi Name bhaktah pranashyati. Kshipram, very soon, bhavati, becomes, dharma atma, righteous, shashvat chantim, lasting peace, nigacchati, attains, kaunteya, O son of Kunti, pratijanihi, declare, never, may, my, bhaktah, devotee, pranashyati, perishes. Translation. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Let's repeat this. He quickly becomes righteous. And attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. So he is whom? We're referring to the previous verse, which we might as well recite. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. That is the person we're talking about still in today's verse. Let us hear what Srila Prabhupada has written in his commentary, purport. This should not be misunderstood. In the 7th chapter, the Lord says that one who is engaged in mischievous activities cannot become a devotee of the Lord. Where does he say that in the 7th chapter? Good enough. There's a couple of references from the chapter 7 that might do. Yesham Tvantagatam is another one. So anyway, one who is not a devotee of the Lord has no good qualifications whatsoever. Wow. This sounds pretty fanatical. The question remains then, how can a person engaged in abominable activities, either by accident or by intention, be a pure devotee? This question may justly be raised. The miscreants, as stated in the 7th chapter, who never come to the devotional service of the Lord, have no good qualifications, as is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. What verse is that? Anybody know? Yes. Manorathenasati dhavato bahihi. You have to be experienced with Prabhupada's books to catch these things, otherwise you don't know. Generally, a devotee who is engaged in the 9 kinds of devotional activities is engaged in the process of cleansing all material contamination from the heart. He puts the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, and all sinful contaminations are naturally washed away. Continuous thinking of the Supreme Lord makes him pure by nature. According to the Vedas, there is a certain regulation that if one falls down from his exalted position, he has to undergo certain ritualistic processes to purify himself. But here, there's no such condition, because the purifying process is already there in the heart of the devotee, due to his remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, should be continued without stoppage. This will protect a devotee from all accidental fall downs. He will thus remain perpetually free from all material contaminations. So there are many, this is a long, these two verses, the verse that we just read, and this verse, well, I'll read them again. If one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, it is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. So the famous commentator, Sridhar Swami, is the first one to raise the first point. Why do we say kshipram bhavati? He becomes very quickly dharmatma. He says it's as good as saying when a person is 90% of the way to his goal, then we can say he's already there. So it's like that. Because he is engaged in devotional service, he's assured. It's just a matter of time. All he has to do is remain engaged in devotional service, and he will definitely attain complete perfection in due course of time. It may take some time, but his perfection is guaranteed. Because it is guaranteed, therefore we say he's already there. He's already made it. And that doesn't work for those who are engaged in the process of karma. This is also alluded to in Srila Prabhupada's purports. Certain ritualistic processes that we may undergo to purify ourselves. In Western religion, they call this expiation of sins. Or here in India, we have so many yajnas and other things you can perform for mundane advancement. It increases your good karma. That's okay. But this process of devotional service is working on a completely different principle and should not be compared to ordinary mundane elevation through pious acts. Because this is a process in which we don't depend on our own strength for our own elevation. We have two assets in this world, perhaps, if we're fortunate, if we're pious. We have two assets. One asset is called karma, good karma. Karma means good karma. Otherwise it's called vikarma. Punya. Punya means some merit. Whatever opulence you have, whatever enjoyment you get in this lifetime, it is because of your punya. Whatever you've done something pious previously, now you're experiencing that result. And that's an asset. If a person is born in a country where he doesn't constantly have to worry about where his next meal is coming from, for example, that is a great asset because the mind is free to think about what life is actually for. Other people are too busy in the struggle for existence. And even for those who are fortunate, existence is always a struggle, but not so much as you can't imagine, put it that way. We may think that we have problems, but believe me, it can always get worse. So, we're sitting here comfortably, everybody's warm enough, nobody's hungry, everybody's okay? Yeah, so count your blessings, that's what it is. You have some piety, punya. We could be sitting in Syria right now. Or we could be in North Korea, where this discussion would be illegal. And we could be in so many places. In some places just across the border, they will try to kill us if we're sitting here in a public discussing these things. So, we have this much piety. So that is an asset, no doubt. The other kind of asset that we have in the material world is called what? If it's not karma, then it's jnana. We have some awareness. We have some education maybe. So better than education is realization. Because education is just data input. You're just accumulating so much information. But realization means you can connect the dots. You're aware of things. Actually, jnana means, we translate it for convenience sake, we translate the word jnana as knowledge. But in fact, jnana really means awareness, to be increased aware, and to have increased awareness. That's a great asset. Nobody wants to be out of it. Everybody wants to be on top of it. That's called jnana. So that can also help us a great deal. But it is neither by karma nor by jnana that the Supreme is revealed to us. In the Upanishads we hear, he is revealed only to the person that he chooses himself. There's nothing you can do to advance in this bhakti process except beg for mercy. And when you get the mercy, then automatically you're carried along without any consideration of what you've done right or what you've done wrong. This is the crucial difference between bhakti and any other process. It's a good thing, although we follow the principles of dharma, pious activities. Devotees are engaged only in pious things. Nobody here sneaks out to go visit KFC in Mathura, I hope. Nobody's going to a bar. We're not in that class, you see. So this is automatic when we're devotees. But sometimes, by force of circumstance, a person may be obliged, or just accidentally even, he may do something wrong. Once I was in a taxi cab, and the driver was not sufficiently attentive, coming from Delhi through Faridabad. So all of a sudden a little calf ran out into the middle of the street, right in front of the taxi. Bam! He was killed. Just like that. So this is what Krishna is talking about here. Gohatya. This is considered to be one of the most sinful things, actually. But Krishna says, if he is engaged in bhajate mam ananya bhak, ananya bhakti, if he is participating, the word bhak means to participate. If he is participating without any other goal in worshipping me, Krishna says, then this person, I carry this person. I'm sponsoring him. He doesn't have to worry about his own elevation. Even he does something really bad. Here the word is used, sudurachara. Sudurachara. Durachara means bad behavior, bad conduct. Sudurachara means really, really bad, grave misdeeds. Bhajat. This is the idea. So, bhajate mam ananya bhak, if he's without any other goal in life, ananya, then sadhureva samantavya. No matter what he does, he has to be considered saintly. We've already studied that. Why is he how can he be considered saintly? And this is the answer given in today's verse. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. He becomes very quickly dharma atma. His very atma, his very self, his very nature, we can say, it is dharmic. It becomes dharmak, dharmatma. And kshipram bhavati, very quickly he becomes. Why so quickly? Because he's not elevating himself by his own means. He's not depending on any mundane means, and it's not his own power that he's elevating himself. Because he's taking shelter of me, Krishna says, therefore I am pulling him up, because that is my promise. What is that famous verse from Ramayana? Sakradeva prapannaya tavasmiti cha yachate abhayam sarvabhutebhyo didamyetad vratam mama. Ramchandra says, this is my vow that if anybody comes to me and says, from now on, from today on, I'm yours, then I will protect that person. Always. So, this is the idea. And shashvat chantim negachati. We can ask questions and make comments at the very end. It's just so bookmark your questions or your comments, and at the end we can discuss them. So shashvat chantim negachati means he attains everlasting peace. Shashvat. Now Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he points out in this regard, shashvat means, what does shashvat mean? Who knows? Eternal, but in this case he says it means repeatedly. He again and again feels repentance for whatever he's done wrong. And because he's feeling that very strongly, and at the same time taking shelter of Krishna, Krishna shows kindness to him when he's humble. This is the idea. Shashvat chantim negachati. Shantim negachati means he comes to a sense of what the Mukunda Datta Upanishad calls, what the Mukunda Datta Upanishad calls, what the Mundaka 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 Upanishad calls, what nirvedam, detachment, or disgust even with this material entanglement. Here I've got this material body, mind-body complex. I'm completely wrapped up in it. I'm not in control of it. It's making all my decisions for me. It's entangling me further in this ocean of repeated birth and death. And I've realized there's nothing I can do about this. So he feels very badly about this, and he takes shelter of Krishna through Ananya Bhakti, as we described in the previous verse. So that person, Krishna says, he'll never be vanquished, because I will make him Dharmatma. So that it may take some time. For some time, a person may, through habit, or through ignorance, or through bad association, or through force of circumstance, a person may continue to commit some sort of sin. Sin, what does sin mean? We have different concepts of sin, especially those of us from the West in general. We have a certain concept of sin. There are mortal sins and there are venial sins, big sins and small sins. We call these in Sanskrit not exactly the same thing, but there are mahapatakas and ordinary patakas. Minor sinful activity, major sinful activity. So, like we said, killing cows, taking intoxication, stealing, these things are considered to be mahapatakas. Small sins are things like not rising early and not taking baths, not being humble, etc., etc., etc. So, in either case, a person through force of habit or through force of circumstance, he may sometimes do these things. There's a very nice verse quoted by Baladev Vidyabhushan in his commentary on this verse. He quotes from 11th canto, chapter 5, text number 42. Do you know it? Swapada moolam bhajata priyasya tyaktvanya bhavasya hari pareshaha vikarma yat chodpatitam kathanchita tunoti saravam hrite sannavishta. That means that when a devotee has fully taken shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and tyaktanya bhava, he is, let's turn it off. He dismisses any other consideration of life. I'm going for this thing. This is all I'm interested. I'm investing all of my things in this account only. This is called Ananya Bhakti or Tyaktanya Bhavasya. When a devotee has that attitude, then Krishna is forced to take care of him. A little bit like the analogy is given when a mother sees the most dependent child, the youngest child, crying helplessly, not able to do anything for himself, she gives more attention to that child. The more we depend on Krishna, the more Krishna steps in to take care of us. That requires a leap of faith, doesn't it? We don't really have this faith at present. This is our problem. But this is how it works. If it works like that with ordinary mothers, then why not the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Now, if we depend on Krishna in full faith and take exclusive shelter of him, this is, the word is here used, ananya bhava, then Krishna is obligated to come and take care of us. He's obligated. And he doesn't miss that obligation, and he's perfectly competent and aware of our situation. This is another thing we need to invest our faith in. So, vikarma yat chodpatitam kathanchita. If somehow or other he falls from that position and engages in some vikarma, the word is used here, then dhunoti sarvam hridaya sannavishta. The Lord who is situated within his heart, he takes care of all these things. How many times have we heard this throughout our shastras? Huh? Yes, in Bhagavad-Gita it's there also. Shrinvatam sukata Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridi antastho hya badrani dhunoti. Same word is used. Dhunoti. So many examples we hear of this. We, in bhakti-yoga, we don't elevate ourselves. We depend on the perfect person to elevate us. Because he's perfect, then there's no problem at all. Only thing that we have to do is make sure that we really want to invest in this perfect person. That is our end of the deal. So this is what Krishna is saying here. But if we want lasting peace, shashwat chanti, then this is the best way to do it. And he tells Arjuna, Kaunteya, pratijanihi, you declare it boldly, name bhakta pranashyati. For this reason, my devotee cannot be perished. Pranashyati, passive voice is used here. He cannot be destroyed at any time. Now, who is it? Again, Baladev Vidabhushan, he points out in his commentary here, why does Krishna address Arjuna as Kaunteya, son of Kunti? You know this. Son of Kunti, because if Arjuna, who is coming from such a noble family, declares this, then people will put stock in it. He said, Krishna is thinking, myself, nobody knows what kind of family I come from. They don't know, is he a kshatriya? Is he a cowherd? Who is he? We heard that he's not even Nanda's boy, actually. We don't know, you see. And Krishna, it's also been demonstrated many times that sometimes Krishna doesn't keep his own promise. Therefore, he's telling Arjuna, you promise. And because you're from a noble family, people will believe you. What did Krishna say? In Kurukshetra, Krishna promised, I will not take up any weapons in this war. Did he keep that promise? No, he didn't keep that promise. He took up the chariot wheel to kill, who was it? Bhishma. So, this is the idea. People, they may not believe in Krishna, but Arjuna, they will put their faith in whatever Arjuna says. Okay, so there's a couple of shlokas here. Besides this from the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's another idea here from Kathopanishad. Na charito dushcharitan. A person has no good contact and instead he's engaged in all sinful things. Na shanto, na samahitaha. He doesn't have any mental peace, neither does he have self-control, control of his senses. Na shanto manaso vapi. Pragyane nainam apnoyat. Even that person gets not only knowledge, but realizations even. But even that is not enough to help him. He cannot attain the Supreme. A person who is not peaceful, not well-behaved, and not in control of himself. That person cannot make its spiritual advancement. This is the doubt that is raised. So, this doesn't apply to devotees, Baladev Vidabhushan says. Devotees meaning those devotees who have taken exclusive shelter of the Lord. Because the Lord himself purifies those devotees. The word is used here. Dhunoti sarvam hridisannavishta. From within the heart. The Lord purifies us of the reactions of our sinful activities. We don't have to do anything except take exclusive shelter. And that is the last thing that we're willing to do, actually, if you think about it. You look around at these other processes that are available. The process of karma, mundane elevation through pious activity. You don't have to surrender to God in order to do that. Or if you want to develop gyan, great spiritual awareness, even self-realization, that is also gyan. Actually, we can see in Western physics is pretty much the zenith of all scientific attainment in terms of Western education. We can find many examples of great physicists who in the maturity of their careers, they finally turned to spiritual life. I remember when I was young, there was one Nobel laureate. His name was George Walt, nuclear physicist. So he was coming to our temple, and we had a restaurant also in this temple in Austin, Texas, where I went to college, and he was chanting Hare Krishna because he realized I have all this, people think I'm the most smart person in the world, but I know that I don't have answers to all the questions. And he was humble and submissive enough to actually inquire about spiritual life. So, similarly, Munis, and really the zenith of any kind of science or any kind of philosophy especially, is that you get Atma Gyan. You get awareness of who you really are as a spiritual being, apart from the gross and subtle material body. Gross body meaning earth, water, fire, air, ether. Subtle body meaning mind, intelligence, ego. These two bodies are encasing us We're incarcerated within this mind-body complex. But a person who has full awareness and education, that person gets self-realization in that he appreciates what is the nature of spirit, and he also appreciates that I am only that spirit. I don't need to misidentify myself with things in this material world. But even that, here this verse is telling us, it's still not enough. It's still not enough. So, we require some mercy. This is the point. Bhakti is the only process. Yoga also. Yoga is a little bit in between the two. Not quite punya karma and not quite pure jnana either. Yogis, they're generally looking for some kind of siddhis. Of course, nowadays yoga is very popular all over the world. But what do they want from that yoga? Are they looking for any kind of mystic siddhis? Not really. They're looking for a better body to enjoy sense gratification with, or to appeal to the opposite sex. This is what passes as yoga in the material world nowadays. So even if we are looking for something very subtle and very valuable through karma or through jnana or through yoga, it's not going to be enough actually to reveal to us what is the supreme. For that we have to bow down. And this is the only process in which that is explicitly expected. In other processes, you don't have to do that. You can have self-realization without bowing down. And you can get mystic siddhis also, and still remain a demon. There are many examples in our Shastras. Who is one of them? Hiranyakashipu is the favorite example. So many others. But this process requires bowing down. And that's why people don't like it. We have an innate rebellious nature that militates against us doing this simple thing, admitting that we have we have some personal relationship with the Supreme Lord. So, but this is the glory of this process, and it's being stated here by Krishna himself to Arjuna. Even if you have some flaw in the realm of karma or in the realm of jnana or yoga, that's fine, because you're not depending on that. You may be following those things. You should follow them, actually. We should not be sinful by nature. We should be pious by nature. But we need not depend on that piety, because it's called a yoga. And in case you didn't notice, we really can't depend on those things. They're not dependable in this age. You cannot perfectly follow dharma. You cannot perfectly cultivate jnana. You cannot attain yogic siddhis in general. So this is really the default option for those of us who are disempowered by the ugliness of this modern day and age. So here it's being stated, Srila Prabhupada is also explaining clearly, as do most of the acharyas commenting on this verse. We should not take it that a so-called devotee can act with impunity and do anything that he wants to do, sinful or pious. No, that's not the idea. But the understanding should be that although a devotee becomes pious by nature, by Krishna's grace, because Krishna purifies him from within, sometimes in the beginning he may stumble, and in those cases, Krishna considers that he is still saintly. And Krishna tells Arjuna also to declare it boldly. Now, who is Arjuna to declare it boldly to? This is the next question. If Krishna says, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati, who is he declaring this to? The mundane elevationists. Those who say, no, you committed a sinful activity, you have to expiate yourself. You have to perform, what do we call this? Expiation in Sanskrit? Prayaschitta. If you've killed a cow, like our friend the taxi driver, you'll have to go to some Brahmin and do some ritual, and maybe you could be purified. But even that's a doubtful proposition in Kali Yuga, because where are the Brahmins who can actually perform those yajnas properly? And many of us don't even have the adhikar to perform those kinds of prayashchittas. But essential part of the bhakti process, the most purifying aspect in this age of the bhakti process is kirtanam. Kaler dosha nidhirajan asti hieka mahadguna kirtanareva krishnasya muktabandha paramvrajet. That although this Kali Yuga is an ocean of every kind of flaw, there is one good quality, and that is simply by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One becomes freed from the contamination, and one also becomes blessed with the divine opulence of spiritual situation in Krishna consciousness. So, therefore the advice is, Kirtaniya Sadahari, or Srila Prabhupada says here in his purport, this should be continued without any cessation. One should be chanting as much as possible. Therefore we stress this so much. And the Shastra also stresses so much. Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama Aiva Kevalam, Kalao, Nasyeva, Nasyeva, Nasyeva Gatiranyatha. In this Kali Yuga, there's nothing else is going to work. Why 3 times? Not karma, not jnana, not yoga. Only through this chanting, Hare Krishna Kirtan. So whatever we used to get, the result that we got through practicing mystic yoga in the Satya Yuga, and we got through practicing this costly sacrifice in the Treta Yuga, and great elaborate worship of deities in the Dwapara Yuga, we can get the same result in Kali Yuga simply by performing kirtan together as we've been doing. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, this principle is always applicable. When one takes shelter of Krishna, as Krishna says in the end of Bhagavad-Gita, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Tva sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami. I will deliver you. You may mess up, you will mess up. It is expected. There will be problems. But don't worry, because if you have taken exclusive shelter of me, then because you're properly situated in your determination, I will carry you. I will carry you. Yoga kshemam vahamyaham, like the Life Assurance Company of India says. You've seen the billboards? They quote this verse. It's their motto. Yoga kshemam vahamyaham. So Krishna's promise is a lot more valuable than the Life Assurance Company of India's motto. Okay, so I'll stop here. Someone had a question here in the back. Question or comment?
And just speak slow.
Yes.
Yat phalam nasti tapasya na yogin samadhina.
Yes.
Tat phalam samavakallo keshava kirtana.
Yes, this is the idea. What he says means that you cannot get perfection by any other means but through kirtan.
Describe about whatever you are doing in this no matter. But if you are chanting, so I will solve your all problems.
Everything becomes complete.
You don't need to do tapasya in Kali Yuga, nothing you need to do, only chanting.
Yeah.
If you chanting, you have 9-fold of bhakti, I will help you. But need full determination, centeredness of near Krishna's feet, fixed determination first need. Then chant.
Thank you. You had a question?
My question is it are we required to even do the atonement?
Yes.
Could you please?
Well, you have to perform karma kandya rituals according to the Vedic injunctions. You have to have a certain time. The time has to be appropriate. The participants have to all be pure and appropriately situated. The ritual has to be followed according to the letter and according to the Shastra. You need to acquire so many materials that you may not be able to acquire, like ghee. Sacrifice means ghee. Where are you going to get ghee in India nowadays? Yeah, you can't even put ghee on your chapatis. What to speak of in a Ashwamedha yajna? So how are you going to do these things? This is the idea. Okay. Yeah.
I quoted one shloka that the Shastra Nyamatma Pravachana, and then you
Yes.
quoted the last line. I have some confusion there because in our process of Krishna consciousness, we are hearing and chanting, and then we expect that this is how Krishna's mercy is going to descend.
Yes.
So what that shloka refers to, Nyamatma Pravachana, and then only Krishna reveals.
Yes.
What is that? So there's some kind of confusion in my mind. What is that?
Well, the way I understand it, without checking the commentaries on those verses, and the way that Prabhupada, the context in which Prabhupada usually quotes these verses, is that you may be so good in, Medhaya. You may have great intelligence, you may be a very nice speaker, you may be So whatever opulence you may have temporarily as a result of your karma, that's not going to be enough to gain you the favor of God. To gain mercy from Bhagavan, then you have to actually please him. And he has to choose to show mercy to you. And then it's okay. Then you're carried by that mercy. It's a descending process. It's not an ascending process. You see? Just like when I was in college, my thesis advisor said, if you want to tackle your subject, this is what you have to do. So we have to understand at a certain point that knowledge is not something that you can tackle. It's something that is revealed. It takes humility. This is the point. And that humility earns us kripa, anukampa, compassion, mercy, blessings. And when we have that, then automatically everything is revealed to us from within. This is the idea.
Our understanding of Bhagavad-Gita and Bhagavatam increases as we get more purified. So is it not mercy of the Lord, or is it just like we are increasing in terms of knowledge? How would distinguish?
We will learn to distinguish between these things as we become purified in heart. In the beginning, when we get, what does Rupa Goswami say about the two excellences that automatically accompany sadhana bhakti from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu? What are they? One is Shubhada, and not Moksha. Yeah, Kleshagni and Shubhada. These are the characteristics of just practicing devotional service, neophyte devotion. Your obstacles are destroyed and auspiciousness enters your life. This happens for everyone who seriously chants this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But these are only what we might call fringe benefits of devotional service. They're not really the purpose. Now we have to be careful, and we will learn to distinguish in time and through education that just because we get auspiciousness as a result of practicing Krishna consciousness, that doesn't mean that it is an essential realization or part and parcel of Krishna consciousness. And we should not mistake it also with Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is that choice that we've made. Let me surrender. Let me humbly serve. Let me become a pure devotee without any interest in karma or gyan or yoga. That is the move towards spiritual reality that actually earns us the kind of grace with which we can advance. And after some time, then we'll figure it out. Through experience, usually it takes experience. We will figure it out that it is not because I'm gaining so much shubhatva in my life, auspiciousness, or it's not because my obstacles are much less now that I'm able to gain Krishna's favor. It is only because he wants to favor me. Yeah. And that favor alone is my goal. This is the point. So we should not mistake the concomitant byproducts of devotional service with the essential endeavor of devotional service. This is the point. Is it clear? Okay. Yes.
As we see, Krishna is asking Arjuna to declare that my devotee never given his death. So we see that Pandavas themselves, they were so much devotees of Krishna, but still they were having so many problems and things. So can you enlighten that?
Very good question. Throughout their entire lives, the Pandavas had to suffer, all the way from childhood, through their youth, all the way until the end of their life. Every step of the way, they had to go through so much suffering. So how does this tally? We're talking about even the beginning of sadhana bhakti removes your obstacles. To kya hua? The idea is that, as we see here in India, the mother-in-law teaches the daughter-in-law by teaching whom? The daughter. So sometimes we see that with Krishna's most beloved devotees, the only way to teach the rest of us what it means to be surrendered to Krishna is to create difficulties for those beloved devotees and to put them through difficulties. For two reasons. Number one, only those devotees can take it. Only the really pure devotees can handle that. The rest of us will crack. And number two, he likes to glorify the examples of his devotees by presenting difficulties that they have to overcome so that everyone else appreciates the depth of their faith and their surrender and their sacrifices. Think about Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was ordered in 1922 to spread Krishna consciousness throughout the English-speaking world. In those days, he was a newly wedded householder busy working in the chemical laboratory. India was still a British colony. Who's going to listen to somebody who is not even independent? So Srila Prabhupada had this doubt, and it was a reasonable doubt. But he had faith in the orders that he was given. And when he finally figured out that none of my godbrothers are going to do this, I have to do it, in his old age, he came to America at age 70. He had no money. He had no strategic plan. He had no contacts in America. He said when he got off the boat, he didn't even know whether to turn right or left. And he got off of a boat. He didn't get off of a 747 airliner. He got off, not what kind of boat? A passive luxury liner, right? No. A steamship, freight ship. He came to America on a freight ship. He suffered 2 heart attacks on the way. Didn't know if he would make it or not. And he had to live in the Bowery, of all places, in Lower Manhattan, New York City, for a year, stepping over the bums who had passed out in his doorway in order to get into his apartment. He had to tolerate this kind of thing. And finally, when somebody started coming, who was it? Hippies. What are you going to do? But he didn't give up. And that itself, those difficulties were not because of any bad karma on his part. They were put in his way deliberately. This is Leela. This is the potency of devotional service. And in order to I want to say, amplify the glory of that pure devotional service, Krishna arranged for him to go through these difficulties. And then gradually, because he was unwavering in his pure devotion, and his character was pure, and his mission was correct and desired by Bhagavan, therefore it became successful. More than 100 editions of Bhagavad-Gita were there in English. Before I came to ISKCON, I read so many of them. But I didn't understand them because the publishers also didn't understand them. Evam parampara praptam. This thing has to be received from parampara. And when I read Prabhupada's Bhagavad-Gita, it had the same effect on me that it had on hundreds of thousands of other people. It made me change, practically. It's not rocket science. If you follow this process, you get a certain result. If you don't follow the process, you don't get that result. 150 different editions of Bhagavad Gita in English, they didn't make one person a devotee. One edition in English, and it's made hundreds and thousands of devotees all over the world. Russia mein, China mein, Africa mein bhi, ityadi. So, Srila Prabhupada had to go through struggles, but his struggles demonstrated for the rest of us that what does it mean? He finally succeeded in spreading Krishna consciousness beyond what Madhvacharya did, beyond what Ramanujacharya did, beyond even what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did. There's no denying this. They all preached only within India. Srila Prabhupada went everywhere. It's unprecedented. And his glory was only amplified by the difficulties that Krishna purposely put in his path. Therefore, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say, those who are blessed by God find their path beset with thorns. Are you ready for that? It's easier to go to church once a week and say communion, isn't it? Put some money in the box and done with it. All right, so I hope that answers the question. I mean, this is, yes. Kunti Devi, as I said, Prahlad Maharaj, Mirabai, ityadi. There's so many examples that devotees have to go through difficulties. Yes.
If suppose someone killed a cow, then Krishna will help him.
If a devotee, the qualification here is that he has to be an ananya bhakta, pure devotee. If he's a mixed devotee, then maybe the results are mixed. We have to see.
What?
There are different kinds of devotees. There are pure devotees who are exclusively interested only in Krishna. And then there are mixed devotees. They're also devotees, but they have other interests also.
But here is saying that only for Ananya Bhakti.
Yeah, here we're talking about pure devotees.
And also his determination, fixed determination. If he don't need to change his rules. According to the apichet sudachara bhajate mam ananyavad.
Yes.
Sadhurev samantavya samagya ver sito hisam.
Yes.
Means continuously is thinking about Krishna means whole
Yes.
ninefold.
Yes.
Means if nobody means today I do like that, tomorrow not.
Mm.
Then Krishna will help me.
That means that we are not pure devotees. This is the point. Pure devotee means santushta satatam yogi. He's always a yogi. Not just today. Or not yogi 6 days a week and 7th day I rest. No, we're talking, ananya bhakti means no rest. Nirantara bhakti, we call it. No antara is there, no gap. This is the point. Until that point, we have to be very careful and stay pious. Because if we commit some sin, maybe Krishna will cover, maybe not, we don't know.
No, Krishna will not help us. If we are
No,
not,
sometimes he does help. He certainly can help, but we don't know. This is the point.
because we are not now. If our determination is not fixed, suppose we have to do 16 chanting malas. If we do regularly,
Hmm.
any problem will come. We don't need to leave. We will do this. If we do this, then Krishna will help us. If we not, sometimes we are failed. We miss Krishna, no problem. If you have no mala, we can chant
Hmm.
with mouth. But we think that problems come. Kunti said, I need problem because I don't want to forget you.
Yes.
Sometimes think that Krishna create problem for us, but Krishna will not to improve us. What problem? Nothing problem is. If we are, what is the question? My question is, can Krishna help us if we are bad? Means if we are not chanting?
Krishna always helps us, whether we're chanting or not. In fact, he's always helping us. But
Yes,
whether we're interested in Krishna's help or not, this is the point. See, our psychology is like this. Okay, Krishna, I'm going to chant 16 rounds every day, but you have to protect me. If you don't protect me, then I want my money back and I'm out of here. This is the problem. See, pure devotee doesn't think like that. Pure devotee thinks, Ashra Shiva Paradatam Pinashtumama Darshanat Marnamahatam Karotu Va.
Anya Vlasata Shunyam Gyan
Yes.
Davitam Anukulle Krishna Sunanam Bhakti Rutatma.
That's right. So-
Akama Sarvakama Mokya.
Yeah, okay. So then, this is the point, that if we become Ananya Bhaktas, we have no expectation. Akanksha nahi hona chahiye. This is the idea. You had a question.
I just wanted to make a point that even Vishnu Dutta says if somebody chants Hare Krishna unintentionally, Etada Vishyamati, that means even if you like if there 6 to 9-10
Yes.
killer of a cow, and Krishna says that eternally I will protect him. That's quite Krishna severe, but that's how Lord Vishnu is.
I'm not sure I follow your question.
I just said that the comment on this, even if a person is most sinful, even if he is not a devotee,
Yes.
like a Jamil,
Yes.
even he is unintentionally chanting the names,
Yes.
even not 16 rounds, even
Yes.
one name is mentioned here that Krishna says that I will protect him.
Yes.
That's,
This is mercy.
Yeah, this is the mercy.
That's why I said, he says that Krishna won't help me unless I'm pure. No, Krishna can also help you even if you're not pure. But you don't know. And a pure devotee doesn't have that expectation. This is the point.
It's interesting that Krishna helped Adamil by showing him the Yamadutas.
Yeah.
that was something nice.
Yes. Yeah. So, how Krishna is going to deal with us, that we can't say. He's completely free. Yatata tavavedatu lamparto. And he's lamparta also. That's why we don't listen to his promises. Lamparta, I don't know if we have a word for this in English, but it's a pretty strong word. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, this is Krishna, he's a rascal. You cannot trust this guy. That's why here in Vrindavan, nobody cares so much about Krishna. Everybody's taking shelter of Srimati Radharani. Because she's a devotee. She knows. We have to deal with Krishna, who's sometimes a little difficult. She also has to deal with Krishna, who's sometimes a little difficult. So she can sympathize, and she's a little feminine, soft heart. We take shelter of her. It's better. Okay, I think we'll stop here unless there's... Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.